Hello and welcome to Rise of Humanity. I am your host, Chris Karamaya, and for today's episode, I am very pleased to be joined by my guest, Krista Williams. Krista is a digital marketer, creator of the health, wellness, and lifestyle blog, The 100 Blog, and also host of the awesome hit podcast, Almost 30, bringing real and raw conversations on spirituality, entrepreneurship, health and wellness, and much, much more. Krista brings awesome energy to her work and is doing awesome things in the world. She is a total rock star. So it's great to have you on the show today, Krista. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I love what you're doing and I just love spreading, positive messages like you are. So I'm so happy to be here and that was such a nice welcome. I need to tattoo that to my forehead.
Yeah. Awesome. So you called your blog the 100 Blog and
Mhm.
living it at 100. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so it's kind of different than like a lot of the blogs that I felt like were out around the time. I feel like a lot of female blogs are kind of like cupcakes and sprinkles and kind of like lemon cashmere and, just kind of stuff that didn't really seem interesting to me. So for a while, like I still say it, I always say, oh, 100. Like if I'm in total agreement of someone and I'm like completely supportive, I'm like, oh, 100%, it means 100%. So I've been saying 100 for a long time, but it really means to me like keeping it completely honest with you, keeping it completely real with you. And that's something I always promise and try to do with each post that I write on the 100 blog. So it's just really being that authentic, completely honest person and kind of sharing a little bit more depth and insight in my posts than other people might find in the same health and wellness arena out there.
Mm.
So I always try and keep it 100, keep it real, and just be my authentic self in everything that I do, and especially with the blog, which has been my first outlet that I really worked on.
Yeah, that's cool. And you saying everything that you do, is that like how you try to just live your life
hmm
as a whole then?
Yeah, I think, yeah. And I've always been that way, and I always have been that way. And I never really understood how to like work with it positively until, um,
Hmm.
my 20s and like probably like 23, 24, when I started meditating and I kind of started reading, all of the books that one does when
Yeah.
they kind of awaken, Eckhart Tolle. I read The Secret, but that sort of led me down a path of educating myself more. And I never really understood why I was so like, all or nothing about things. Like I would always be transforming. Like one year in high school, I was like a preppy. The next year I was like a pot smoker. Like it's just like I kind of just like go all the way with things and I really am really super dedicated to things that really align with me or I'm like not into it at all. So
Mhm.
um living like at 100 is just what I do. So like making sure that my blog in the name really like aligns with something with who I am is like this is like all the way. When I'm going to do something like the blog, I'm going to do it all the way. And I've been doing it for like 2.5 years. Um, and it's just like the perseverance factor too of like, again, when I do something, I do it 100 or I don't do it at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's what the world needs, just like people to be uh, authentic and themselves. And I mean, as you probably find with your readers as well, but I think when you are your authentic
hmm
self, it creates the opportunity. It gives people the belief that they can do it as well. If they're maybe scared, they're like, "Oh, look at this, Krista. She's so bold and authentic and honest.
hmm
I can be that person too."
Totally. And I mean, that's what it is too. It's like I want my blog to be a place where I am being my authentic self and I'm being honest, positively or negatively. speaking deeply or lightly talking. And, I talk about meditation, or I talk about anxiety and depression. I've talked about stuff that has impacted me personally. But then I do at some points keep it light. But I felt like in the blogging world, what I was seeing was that there was tons of amazing pictures and tons of like really pretty girls, but I didn't feel like I was getting anything more than that. Like I'm just kind of like,
Mm.
okay, but like what else? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, you can get inspired by someone's amazing outfit. They're in Paris and they're having a croissant and it's a beautiful photo, but like beyond that, how does that make someone feel, inspired to, exactly like you said, be themselves or feel more confident being themselves? And from my personal perspective, only me doing that, only me kind of saying things that may be a little taboo, maybe a little bold, either on the podcast or for my blog, letting people know that it's okay to like speak your truth and be who you are is really like the message that I want to share. Especially, like I said, because I didn't feel like I was getting that, from blogging at all before I started my blog.
Mm. Yeah, that's so cool. Um, yeah, and 100 being all in and not being afraid to express yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was there ever, have you ever like been a bit resistant to, or like, oh, should I press post here, or are you just
Mm.
completely all in?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I do, sometimes there's times where it's not like it's not like I don't, so most posts, I'll do some posts where I'm kind of like, it's kind of not super deep or interesting, but there's also just a part of me too that like also doesn't want to share every single thing.
Mm.
So I do have that where it's like, yes, every time you're reading my blog, I am being my authentic self, and that is me. I'm not trying to be anyone else. That's why I personally don't read any other blogs, because I don't really want to be influenced by anyone else. And I don't want to, through osmosis, like catch any of
Yeah.
their writing or do anything of their style.
Mm.
But I do, any hesitation I have sometimes is often like, I feel like I should share more. I feel like there's been such a movement and such a transition with blogging where now everyone loves when everyone's like raw and authentic. Like
Yeah.
people love honesty, people love real, and it's amazing. It's like a beautiful shift that we're seeing, where now people on Instagram are kind of like doing a backlash where they're showing more what's real in their Instagram stories or in their captions. But
Yeah.
sometimes for me, I'm like, I I kind of want to keep part of me for me, and um I feel sometimes guilty about not sharing more about like what's going on in my life or what I'm thinking or like what's deeply me. But there is again part of me that just feels like something should be for yourself. Um
Mm.
and that sharing everything with everyone um is just like could be a little like violating, sometimes. So that's the hesitation I have. It's not necessarily like, oh, should I post it? Because I'm pretty whatever. There have been times where I've shared stuff, or it's more so saying stuff on the podcast is kind of where I've been like, oh, maybe I shouldn't
Yeah.
have said that. But,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
where you're like, yeah, like there's sometimes I listen to myself on the podcast. I'm like, yes, go girl. Like, that was clear, that I understood what you were saying. That's really what I listen to, is like, how clearly am I getting across my point, etc. But there are sometimes when I've said stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I cringe. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. It's all part of the experience and the
It
journey, though, I
is.
suppose. Yeah.
It is. You
Awesome.
mean
So,
you don't want to listen to yourself. You don't want to like be tuning into yourself every week and be like, and think you're perfect. That's not,
yeah.
what it's about. So it's like there has to be parts where you're kind of like, okay, ugh, whatever, but what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, what's your what's your like your life journey been like getting to where you are today? I
Mm,
mean, you're doing obviously got a lot of awesome stuff going on. I'm sure you've
mhm,
got some big goals for the future as well. But it seems like you've really got like a good life dialed in for yourself, and I think
mm,
it's something which is so big today, especially people in their 20s just feeling completely lost. I mean,
mm.
what's your did you find
Yeah.
your way early on?
Yeah, I think I think for me personally, it feels like I've found my way early on. Like I found my way around my 20s,
Yeah.
when I started meditating really was the key. And when I started again reading the books, but I grew up in a small town in Ohio.
Hmm.
You know, I, um, I just always kind of was like, and I understand myself more today where I understand that I transform a lot. I love transformation. I never like growth and transformation are like my like bloodline. That is like who I
Yeah.
am. I've never really stayed the same for longer than a couple years, and that's just the way that I am. And now I accept myself and understand myself for that. Um, but it's kind of
Mm.
hard to grow up in like a small town in Ohio. It's always gray. There isn't really like a big type of thinking. Um, you kind of just think about going to college. Where are you going to go to college? And then what company are you going to work at? Is it going to be a big company? And then
Mm.
at that point, it's like, okay, your life's over. You kind of have a job. You just get old. You work at your job. You make more money. You buy a house. You buy a car. You pay off the house. You have kids. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah.
just like the normal path that like most people are doing. And it's not really an awakened type of living. Um,
Hmm.
so I just was kind of living that life. And I remember, I was in college and even in high school, I would have periods of depression. Um,
Hmm.
and anxiety, just I would like have panic attacks in high school and stuff. And for the most part, I was so happy and I was, loved life, but there just were parts of me that were never really satisfied and just always felt like I wasn't like there was so much depth to me and I really didn't understand like how to manage all of my emotions and manage my creativity in such a stifling place. Um,
Mm.
so it was really like after college when I moved to Chicago. I moved to Chicago where I lived for a long time. Um, and I was working in this job in finance management consulting, which is as creative and glamorous as it sounds. So I was working at this job, that was good to me, but I was so unhappy. I would cry like regularly. I mean, it was so unprofessional. Like, I honestly want to puke thinking about myself, just like being so miserable at my job. And I like sucked at it too, like, which is the funny thing. And like, I just was like so bad. And I just like hit a point where I was so unhappy. And I just remember like going to bed at night and like I'd wake up in the morning and I would be like, I would be so mad. I'd be like, fuck. Like I woke up and it's me and I'm still here and like I'm still feeling this way. You know what I mean? It was like almost
Mm.
like there was periods when like the sleep was the only break between my thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like I needed the unconscious period because the consciousness was like so like I just knew something needed to change. So um I quit my job and um I went to Patagonia for 2 months through this program. So I applied for this program called NOLS. It's National Outdoor Leadership School. Um,
Hmm.
and basically, you go off the grid. There's no phones. You're not allowed to connect with anyone. And you pack all of your stuff in a kayak and you camp on the coast of Patagonia for 2 months and live basically and kind of learn how to
Wow.
survive in the wild. So, um, within that, so those two decisions basically gave me the confidence, to really like be like, okay, like I could do this. You know what I mean? Like I could really believe in building the life that I love. And within that, in Patagonia, I was taught to meditate by someone that was on the trip. So the meditation was really what like kicked everything off and, really helped me to connect more closely with universe, with God, and understand that like we are connected and that, I can have a life that I love. And it really awakened me to building a life and believing that
Mm.
I could have every single thing that I wanted by living in my alignment with my authentic self. Um, so I came back from
Wow.
Patagonia, and then during this time too, I was meeting my boyfriend, who I'm with now. We've been together for 5 years, and he was someone that I kind of like manifested. He was like my first um, experience with manifestation. I was like
Mm.
just like bringing him into existence, and we fell in love, and I moved to New York with him, and then that just really kicked everything off. So quitting my job, Patagonia, falling in love, moving to New York and living with him. And then from there, it was just like more and more exercises and practices of belief, of love, and of getting to know myself more authentically, to just building this life that I live now, which I feel, last night I was like, I cry like weekly just because I feel so lucky that, I feel so lucky first that I have a passion. I know so many people don't have passions and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what I care about, or I don't know what I love. I don't know what I like. And I have that, and I have this beautiful thing in the podcast and these beautiful people that listen and connect. And I have this amazing creative outlet, and I have this amazing relationship, and I have friends, I just, and it hasn't been like that. There's been periods of nothing. There's been periods of everything in my life. There's been highs and lows. My life tends to keep getting better the more I'm grateful and the more I'm aligned. But I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for everything now. But a caveat to all of that is yes, there are beautiful, magical things that happen to me in my decisions, but it's been also like a lot of work. Like from the outside, you'll see my life, or and some people might like, oh, your life isn't that cool. But for me, my life feels good and it is really aligned to me. But it's also so much work to have a passion that you are obsessed with and a creative outlet. And then, right now making the money to fund those things will eventually, the tides will turn, and, one of them might make money over the other. But there's tons of work involved in everything too. And to really love your life does involve work. It's not really a passive thing. You have to choose love. You have to choose authenticity. You have to choose to meditate every day. I have to choose to, not engage in acts that are sort of like dulling my vibration, like watching TV or scrolling Instagram for hours and stuff like that too. So a lot of it is the faith, and then a lot of it is the work.
Yeah, that's incredible. I feel like you've just described my life story as
really?
well. We're extremely similar.
Oh, I love that. That's good. That's why we're
Yeah,
here.
I mean, yeah, that's like almost like I even went to South America for 6 months, and you
Where in
and
South
just
America?
all over. I drove through Patagonia and
Oh, you did?
Argentina. Yeah, I went camping. I was only there for about a week, but camped there.
Oh, isn't it
Brazil.
gorgeous?
Yeah, I went all over, and that was back in 2015. Now I went to pretty much every country. That was a turning point for me
100%.
because before I went, I was miserable and in the why does everything happen to me mentality, and I came back and I was like, oh, so everything that happened in my life before this, I created it. And it was like, oh,
Yep.
a light bulb went on.
Yep. Exactly. It's like giving
Incredible.
yourself the power. And I think, I felt like a little, yeah, it was like things are happening to me, not for me. And kind of like shifting that mentality. And I think people are scared. It's like the trying, and then you try once, it doesn't work. And you're like, whatever, it doesn't work, kind of like that
Yeah.
thing. But it's almost, I mean, for you, and, I could be speaking for you, but for me, it needed to be something that was kind of radical to make the first shift, to kind
Yeah.
of like give the universe the nod that
Yeah.
I was willing to go the distance, and kind of having the clarity of like a different space or a different part of the world to really just reset and be like, and you need that. I needed that. And I've always traveled. My family travels, which I'm very thankful. But traveling for me is like the reminder that you are not just like your office and your house and your commute to work and your favorite coffee shop. You know what I mean? There's so many more things and people and places that are happening all over with or without you. And what you have as your current perspective is so small. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely how I am, and that's why I love the name of your blog, because that's how I go about things. I always, like, to everyone else it looks like I've completely gone taken like a huge risk and gone in way too big, but for me it always, that's just how I do things. Like
Totally.
in that South America trip, I mean, I was like a complete introvert. Like for years, I barely went out, and I was just happy at home, and I never even thought about going traveling. And then for some reason, I just got this idea. Right, I'm going away for 6 months, and my mum and dad were laughing at me like, "We don't even go out at weekends. How are you going to go to South America for 6 months?" I was like, "Well, I just know I need to do it," and then that was it. And then whenever I do something, I do it big. Like if I invest in a program or coaching or something, I always go for the biggest, most crazy investment, and that's just how I do everything. So I completely resonate with
I love that. I don't know what that
how you
is. I
do
just am like,
things.
I don't know. Are you a youngest? What's your like birth order?
In the middle.
Oh, you are. Interesting. I was trying to
Yeah,
correlate it, but I don't know. But I mean, I feel exactly how you feel.
yeah. Yeah. Someone, people seem to think that I'm the oldest. I shouldn't say that, but people think that I'm the oldest when they see how things kind of go
I
in the
always feel
family.
like
But
people are the youngest when they kind of have that 1, 0, 100 mentality, because there's like a fearlessness with it, you know.
yeah,
So I always like wonder that, like when people say that, they're kind of like the youngest, because I just know that in my experience and just some of the sibling relationships that I know of, it's like the oldest are kind of a little bit more patient, and they're kind of like a little bit more thoughtful about making their decisions. You know what I mean? So they take a little
mm,
bit longer. Like my sister just takes forever to make decisions and stuff. She would never, hers is
yeah,
like, I'm 0 to 100, and she's just like very slow. So sometimes I wonder if
yeah,
it's like a youngest oldest thing.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think for me, even though maybe not always completely aware of it, I think the reason that my actions are big is because I'm quite spiritually aware, and I
Yeah.
think that having that connection just kind of definitely feel guided. Like I know that when I make big decisions, I'm being guided. I mean, has that been a big thing for you? I mean, you talked about the meditation in the
Mm.
books, but has that been a big thing for you in your 20s?
Yeah, like feeling guided.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just the general like connection to something bigger as well.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, my, and a lot of like what kicked it off too, my quitting the job and kind of like finding, um, you know, my boyfriend and who I love was like by a psychic. I had like a psychic medium
Yeah.
experience, and she predicted my entire life, until now, and kind of like told me about my angels and told me about, um, experiences, just kind of like read me really well and like helped me kind of like confirm a connection that I believed I had. And it's just like an
Mm,
experiment, you kind of just like, I don't know. I think for me, and talking to my angels and talking to my spirit guides and talking to God and universe, it just like, I know that it's working, and I know that it's there. And if it
hmm.
wasn't, it's still a positive thing to be doing. So I just always wonder, like, even for not believing, it's like, if why not? It's like, what
Yeah.
bad is it going to do to like, you know, talk to your guides or talk to your angels? And throughout the years, I've just had some, experiences that just like reaffirmed, um, things for me, whether if it was like with intuitives or mediums or like out of body experiences when meditating, or just like the ability to manifest,
Yeah.
things in my life. I've seen magic happen through manifestation, and um, it's just always brings me to my knees and just reminds me that there is like something greater, and that like I am supported, and loved. And I
Mm,
think it starts with
yeah.
that, the basic and the foundation of that is the meditation piece. Like that is like by far and away the biggest has made the biggest impact on my life over anything I have ever done. It's given me space. It's helped me to be myself. It helps me in every way, shape, or form. It has helped me, and it helped me to really just pull myself out of the anxious mind, any sort of like depression, because it just provides clarity, and it provides like a
Hmm.
space for you, to just remove the emotions from your feelings and really analyze and play with that and understand yourself on a deeper level.
Yeah, yeah. The meditation is definitely, I think, it's just a big thing for the future of humanity, and I think the more people start doing it, because it is a game changer. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what kind of, if you have a particular technique or anything. But for me personally, obviously, I've been very aware of meditation because just being in like the spiritual realms and stuff. But it was never something that really clicked for me. I would just do it on and off, and I think it's probably about 12 weeks ago now. I came across this awesome new meditation process, and it was just like that was it. It clicked, and I've meditated like an
Oh, what's
hour
the
every morning.
process?
It's are you do you know Dr. Joe Dispenza?
No, I don't.
Oh, I've never heard. Oh, it's absolutely I'll tell you his book after we. I'll send you a link for us so you can check it out. But he's it's very science based, but he basically the science of spirituality, and he's basically measuring transformation scientifically, and it's absolutely incredible. His process basically is you have you access other dimensions of the universe without leaving your body, and he
Mm,
calls it the quantum field. So if you do his meditation and follow the steps, which is all in his books, you essentially become. He says the way he phrases it is you become no one, no thing, no body, nowhere, no time, in no place, and you become more energy than matter. And the second that you do that, you literally your brain waves just go off the chart because they measured it, and you sort of you become an energetic being in a different dimension of the universe, and you can create mystical experiences. There's people that have healed cancer,
mm.
healed all kinds of diseases. Absolutely incredible. It's a manifestation process, really, but it's obviously it's relaxation. It's good for your health, and
What's the
it's
name again? I need to write this down.
the guy. He's called Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
Uh, he's written loads of books. His newest book is called Becoming Supernatural.
Cool.
If you read that, it will blow your mind.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's like my goal for 2018 is to like create more magic, like have more magic experiences
Yes,
where you're just like, whoa, that
this is the book.
blow your mind. That's like the goal.
Yeah, yeah, this is the book for that. He's incredible. He's a mystic and a neuroscientist and a chiropractor and just everything. He's incredible. So definitely check that book out.
Oh, perfect. I will. I cannot wait.
So, but yeah, what's just talk about your
Oh, yeah, my meditation.
meditation. Yeah.
So I learned through TM through someone. So I was in Patagonia and I met this guy and he was meditating on the trip and I didn't really understand what he was doing, but I knew I wanted to meditate. I knew I wanted to start. So he told me about his process that he learned through TM and it was using the mantra I am and just sort of like focusing on your breath, breathing in and out, repeating the mantra to kind of like keep your brain aligned to one thought. So that's really what I started with. I can't remember how long it took me to get into it, and kind of be able to settle into the meditation. Um, but that was the process I started with. And then when I lived in New York, I would go to meditation classes and I've learned divided attention meditation, where you're kind of like observing yourself and your life outside of your body. And then just breath work, doing a lot of breath work. But my meditation happens in the morning or it happens at night. I'm kind of flexible now. Before for a long time, I've been meditating for probably 7 years now, but I think for the past two years, I've been more flexible about it. I used to do it every morning or every night, just making sure. But now I can do it in the afternoon or I do it almost every day, but there are days when sometimes I don't do it if I'm traveling, but I still feel completely clear and fine.
Yeah.
But really, it's like for me, either I'm trying to meditate with a mantra. I'll use Tara Brach. Do you know her podcast?
No,
She's
I don't
amazing. So
know.
Tara Brach, it's Tara and then Brach. She has an amazing
Yeah.
podcast. She does talks and then she does meditations, and her meditations are between 15 and 30 minutes. And her voice is just amazing. They're kind of like full
Mm,
body awareness meditations, and they're really, really nice when like I know that it's going to be difficult for me to get into meditation by myself. So I'll use hers. And then if I can't really get into meditation, there's mornings where I'll sit down and I really want to get in deep to a meditation. I would love to meditate, but I'm kind of too energetic and it's not really happening for me. So I'll kind of just,
hmm
give myself a pep talk and just kind of like say nice things to myself. Just be like, you're amazing. You're smart. You're doing amazing things. I love you.
mm,
I'm so thankful to be who I am. And just kind of like talk to myself and just being kind to myself for like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, and so many people are like,
yeah.
I can't like meditate or I can't sit, I can't get my head clear or anything like that. And it's a practice. It's so frustrating actually when people say that, because it's like you're like numbing your brain by looking at social media. Like you can like you can sit and breathe for a second. But if you can't, then even just sitting for yourself with 5 minutes and just being like, you're awesome. Like I love like how hard you're working at work. I love how like talking to yourself in third person and like being kind to yourself and just like giving yourself a pep talk. So it's either morning or night. I'm really flexible. It's with Tara Brach or
Mm,
it's by myself or it's just like a pep talk.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, just any, even if you don't get the meditation in, I mean, at least you're starting your day off on the right foot, because that makes a huge difference,
Hmm.
really, doesn't it? Than just rolling out of bed and stepping out the door and going to work.
Oh, 100%. It's like it'll be most of the time it's meditation, for 5 minutes in the morning, but it's definitely like no phone until I leave the door. I don't look at my phone right away. I'll oil
Hmm
pull. I'll do the gratitude journal. I'll foam roll. I'll stretch. I'll just kind of like be by myself because, you know, like the plasticity of your brain is so like, or you're just very vulnerable in the morning. You have a very clear space. Your body's been digesting everything all night. It's kind of like, for me especially, I feel like whatever input I put into my brain in the very morning is kind of sets the mood for the day. So if it's social media, it's not a good
hmm
place to start it. And I'm just very clear, so
Yeah.
I kind of need to honor that and just go on as long as I can without like assaulting myself with things to do in the morning.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean, everyone's so busy these days as
Mhm.
well. It's so easy to get swept up with the current, and yeah, if you if you can carve out that little bit of time for yourself at the beginning in the morning, then it's a awesome thing to do. And what about like music? Is that a big thing for you?
Mm, that's a good one. I love podcasts so much right now. I feel like I've been like
Yeah.
it just I feel like I've been neglecting my music. I was like obsessed with music for a while when I was in New York. I'd go to music festivals all the time and stuff like that. But lately I've been kind of trying to listen to, my boyfriend got me onto it. I think it's 432 hertz. Have you listened to that? It's like 432
Mm,
hertz sounds,
rings a bell.
and it's like it's supposed to it's supposed to actually like heal your DNA, and it's just very calming. It's very like
Mm,
it's like the kind of music that you listen to in yoga classes.
yeah.
I don't know, and it's just like really nice and calming, but I do love music. I mean, I mostly listen, if I'm do listen to music for fun, it's like rap and hip hop. It's what I really like,
Yeah.
or like indie
hmm
stuff like Subtract or Miguel or something like that. But now that I am just so hungry for not for information and knowledge and like consuming stuff, I just am obsessed with podcasts and the fact that like again, it's like 0 to 100 thing. It's like, okay, well, if I'm gonna listen to something, then I make sure I want to get something out of it, and I'm gonna listen to a podcast because I can like learn something while doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The learning thing is huge, and also the thing I found about listening to like a good podcast or a good interview, whatever it is, it's just the feeling, like the way it lifts your vibration.
Yeah.
It's just like if you do that over and over again, it's gonna have a big knock-on effect on your
I
life.
completely agree. Yeah. And that is too lately I've been just like listening to more music like at night and stuff, and you do like feel it more vibrationally and you're like, "Whoa." It's
Mm.
interesting like when you're actually being conscious and like consciously choosing music that has some sort of vibration, like how it could make you really feel.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big thing. I'm really like, I don't know if this is a thing, but I'm really sensitive to music, like emotionally. Like, I feel like I'm guided to listen to certain songs. And like, I'll be feeling a certain way or going through a certain struggle in life more in the past, and then this song will come and I'll listen to the lyrics and it'll be like, it'd be like my guides are talking to me with this, and
Yes,
it'll give me such a huge lift of energy. It's just incredible
totally. I mean,
sometimes.
angels and stuff like they speak a lot through music and like animals and things like that. So if like
Mm,
that's the way that they communicate to you, like take it as that. It's like this is like how they communicate. Mine are like in dreams, mine are kind of like come to me in dreams and stuff, but like and it's just
yeah.
if you believe that that is how they will communicate. If you're like I kind of think that they're talking to me and they're sending me this
Mm,
message, then you'll get more of them. You know what I mean?
hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. And so, I mean, health, wellness, and lifestyle, it's obviously a big part of your whole blog. And I suppose you cover it a lot on the
Hmm.
podcast as well as it. I mean, you talked about the meditation. What else, what kind of stuff do you do? Is that a big thing for you, taking care of your health?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to think, it's probably been like that for most of my life. I think when I was younger, I didn't really know how to take care of myself. I've kind of had like a weird relationship with like my body and food. That's always been like my thing.
Hmm.
Ever since I was little, I was always like the chubby one that like loved sweets, and my sister was like the rail. I was like, oh, so it was like always the struggle. And my mom and I, my mom kind of had like she was kind of really hard on us about how we looked and how we ate, and hard on herself, and we kind of absorbed that as kids. So it's always kind of been in my imprinting that I was going to be aware of my body and be
Hmm.
self-conscious about my eating and stuff like that. So it started out as like a vain thing in college and in high school about wanting to look good and feel good, or more just look good. Basically
Yeah.
that was like what it was like, is wanting to look good. And then as I got older, when I started to meditate, or I became vegetarian
Hmm.
in college, when I read a book called Eating Animals. And that was kind of like maybe that was my very first spiritual type thing.
Mm.
um because that for me was like, I read the book and it just felt, and I don't know if I would describe it at the time as something that felt spiritually aligned, but cutting meat out of my life was like what I realize now, and removing that violence, this is me personally, everyone's different, um, helped me in a lot of ways to feel more connected to my soul and more grounded. And
Mm.
um, this is like kind of weird and woo woo, but I felt it also too helped me to like release a lot of karmic debt that I've had, or
Hmm.
maybe been holding from past lives, getting really out there. But so I stopped eating meat when I was in college, and then I became vegan 2 years ago. So vegetarian for 10, vegan for 2. But working out and kind of having a body relationship practice since I left college. And I've always kept that as like a thread line. And then now being in LA and being as spiritual probably as I've ever been, it's really just like a complete honoring of the body that I have and the body that I've been given. And I definitely have my days, where I'm not feeling my best, or I'm not feeling completely at home in my body, but I try my best to do everything I can so that I am around as long as possible. And because I am as healthy, or I try to be, or as well as I can, I'm able to get so much more done. It's like
Yeah.
by eating well and eating clean and sleeping and doing all these things, it's like I'm able to produce so much work and like love so many people and do
Mm.
so much because of my health and wellness enables that for me. So it's basically just like a critical aspect for not only my business, but like my life and the way I'm running it right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you drink?
No, so I don't drink either. Um, I stopped drinking 3 years ago. I kind of slowed down 4 years ago, but I stopped 3 years ago. I'll have like a glass of wine. I've probably had a glass of wine one time in the past 6 months, but um, it's just it's a clarity thing, It's like, and I always sound harsh like when I talk about this, but it's how I feel. Like there is no benefit. People are like, oh yeah, you can get antioxidants from red wine. It's like, yeah, you can get that from like grapes too, but like you don't need to have it as alcohol. And it's just like, I would be tired. I would have to be in bed all day and I would be not productive and I'd waste $15 on a drink. And it just like dampens your vibration. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be the best person if you are tired and you're poisoning your body regularly and all of these things. And I feel like I don't want to disrespect my body. And drinking, to me personally, if you're going to drink a lot and you're going to get drunk and you're going to do it regularly, is just disrespecting your body.
Yeah, it's a priority thing, isn't it? It's because
100%.
yeah, because I don't drink anymore, and I've never been like a huge drinker, but it was when I came back from South America. It was right at the end of the trip, and I was just like, I'm just sick of waking up and wasting an entire day feeling like garbage. And I just came back, and I just never drank again. And it's funny what I've noticed, that I've not drunk since, but a couple of times I've like accidentally consumed a bit of alcohol, like from a dessert or something like that. And I've become so sensitive now that I literally cannot touch it. It goes straight to my head and I get completely like spaced out. It's horrible. I can't even have like, even if like red wine's been put in food and not cooked out properly, I can't eat it. It's crazy. So I don't touch it at all now. But the clarity thing and just the health and your body,
Yeah.
is just awesome.
And you just don't need it, like and I feel like a lot of times too, I was doing it to like, because I wasn't comfortable with myself or the situation. It was like I would do it in college, and really in college I was so bored. Like I was so bored, so bored.
Yeah.
So bored. So it was like, okay, what could I do? Because I'm like not really comfortable. No one's really interesting. I don't really have anything to do, and everyone's drunk, so I might as well get drunk too. And like that's what I would do. And then outside of school, I'm like, I feel like people are drinking because they don't really want to be in the situation or they're not comfortable with who they are. Now it's like I could go to a club. I don't really anymore, but completely sober and have fun.
Yep.
I could go do anything and have fun. And everyone's like, are you sure you're having fun? I'm like, yeah, like I want to be here. And when you're drinking, you're not really there.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I've been to a couple of parties in the last year where I was the only one that wasn't drinking, pretty much, and I was like one of the people that was dancing the most on the dance floor, and everyone thought I was drunk. Everyone thought I was drunk, and they're like, "Chris, you haven't even had a drink." And I was like, "Nope, not one." That's so cool.
Completely same page.
Yeah, awesome. So, what? I'm curious what you have in store for the future. What plans you got? I mean, you do digital marketing job. Do you have like a side business? What does that look like?
Yeah. I guess the side business, is I do some consulting for some companies for like digital stuff and podcasting. But really the side biz is the blog and the podcast. The blog takes a good amount of time. Now that I've had it for, a little over 2 years, it's like, it's easier to maintain. I kind of understand the rhythm of it. There's still work, but I understand the rhythm of it. And I post like once a week. I don't post as regular as I used to anymore because I'd rather post quality content less than crappy content more. And then the podcast, which we do almost 30 podcasts, which we have at least one episode out every week, is so much work. I mean,
Yeah.
from podcasting, but we also we're also doing events with that too. So we have the podcast events. We have like a podcast ebook. We're speaking at some conferences this year, which is tons of work doing the presentations and practicing them. And then really just making that grow as much as possible is really time consuming. So that's just really, what I'm working on for this year, and just really putting all my time and effort into growing those.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you definitely, at least you're doing things that you're passionate about, which I think is huge today. So I'm very happy for you that you are
Oh, and same,
in that
like
way.
you're doing the same.
Yeah, yeah, it's been quite a ride, but
Aw.
very glad to be where I am today. So, yeah, it's awesome to be able to connect with people like you as well. So,
Oh, isn't it just the best? Don't you just get so inspired?
yeah, it's awesome. It's incredible that you can actually do it, like with the internet, and you can just connect with people all over the world now. And just like, if I didn't have the internet, like, there's no one around me at all, really, that I can even come close to having this kind of conversation with. So it's
Oh
so
my God, I know. It's like, yeah, and it fills me up, like, and I'm sure the same for you. Like, it just really fills me up, and I feel so fulfilled, like having these, because that's like a lot of the times too, like in college and stuff. And afterwards, I would have fulfilling conversations, but like these, like insightful conversations with people that are like minded or not like minded, that are just conscious and aware, just like fill you up.
absolutely. So, is there any advice that you could give to people who have been or currently going through what you kind of went through and what I went through, and feeling lost in life and trying to, figure out their passion and just feel completely lost? Is there any kind of advice you'd share?
Yeah, I think, yeah, there's like so much. It's like,
It's a
I
big
would
question.
say I would say one thing for the people that are like feeling like a little lost and feeling like a little afraid of what people will think of them for doing something different. Um, it's like, the people that are going to talk bad about you or kind of hold you back from becoming your authentic self, like deeply want, even probably deeply want to be a bright, happy person too. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So like don't let anyone hold you back from like trying to become the person that you are, and don't be afraid to do things that are different. It's kind of it sounds so dumb, but like the you only live once mentality, but it is true. And then I'm not saying you should quit your job right away and, live in a yurt, but it really is. It's like making yourself a priority and making your personal growth and your happiness a priority. And it's not for the people that are happy. Yes, there are a lot of people that have been born into situations where they were blessed with money, abundance, love, whatever, things that make it easier to be happy. But a lot of the people that are happy on a deep level, where they are happy in whatever situation they are in, no matter what is happening to them. So happiness regardless of cause. As Buddha talks about, the happiness with cause and happiness without a cause, are happy because they've put in the work to change their brain to be that way. So putting in the work to change your brain to be that way is through meditation, it's through the journaling, it's through going deep, and it's through belief in something greater, and like exercising that belief regularly until you can build a life that you love. So it happens over time. It takes a long time, but it is worth it over anything. It's like not going to happen overnight, but it couldn't be more worth it to feel at home in your body and feel happy being who you are, you know?
yeah, that's incredible.
Mm.
Thank you. That's just like the, that thing. That's like the ultimate advice. Not finding that happiness without cause is that's something that I've kind of feel like I've achieved myself
Mm.
now through rewiring my brain through this meditation. And it's just like
Awesome.
You should be a coach.
Oh yeah. I love coaches, but sometimes I just am like, I just am sometimes a little bit, there's so many in LA. So I just coach through my podcast. I just, do my thing.
That's a good way. Yeah. It's a good idea. Awesome. Well, that was it. I think that was an awesome way to.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was so fun. You are such a delight. I'll share everything, on all my platforms and everything like that on my socials. And it was just so nice to talk to you. You're just so conscious and aware. And I'm just so happy to see where everything takes you. You're gonna kill it.
Awesome, thanks. Do you just want to? I'll put all the links in the show notes and stuff as well. But do you just want to let the listeners know where they can find out more about you and your podcast and
Oh yeah, of
your
course.
blog?
So it's Krista Williams, Krista Williams. The podcast is called The Almost 30 Podcast. 30 is the number. Almost30podcast.com, at Almost 30 Podcast on Instagram. And then my blog is The 100 Blog. So HUNDRED blog. And then I'm 100 Blog on Instagram. And I would love to connect with you guys. Would love to hear from you. Just DM me or anything. I always respond and chat with anyone who DMs me. Well, most people. Most people. Got a little excited there. Most people.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. Thank you for coming on and sharing all your journey, your story, and this awesome stuff you've learnt along the way. And I wish you all the best going forward.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you so much. Have such a good day, Chris, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll stick all the links that you need in the show notes to check out Krista's work and her podcast. So I'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.